What's up, everybody? You read that right. The best Airbnb market in the nation. That is no small claim, but I dare you to watch the rest of this video where we're going to review the first full year review of our first home that we ever bought in the Poconos. We're going to tell you exactly how much we made, how many bookings we received, break down every expense, and any other small trends we can think of. We're going to break it down all here in this video. Watch it to the very end. You tell me if you think this is still the best market in the nation for Airbnb, or if you think I'm just full of it. So watch the rest of this video and let me know what you think. Alright, in this video I am going to review all of our revenue for the first full year of the first Airbnb we ever bought. I know a lot of you have been asking about this video, and I'm going to reveal it all. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and we can do more of these videos in the future. Let's just get right down to it. Let's start with the revenue. The revenue for a full year was, for 2020, the first house we ever bought. It sleeps 22 people and it's 6 bedrooms. We got, in one full year, $153,765. Whoa, that blew me away. I did not ever imagine we would make that much in 1 year. Now, just to give you some perspective, that is 48% improvement over our first 12 months. So we bought the home in the middle of the year, and the first 12 months of ownership, we're just kind of fumbling our way through it. New to Airbnb, new to the platform, the whole industry, the investment. And our first year, we made $104,000, first 12 months. But in the first full year, we had a 48% improvement. And just to give you some more perspective, that's a 77% improvement from the previous owners. So from the data that they gave us, they made about $87,000 a year, and we made $153,765, almost double that. You can reference this video above here where I talk about the advantages of short-term rentals, where depending on the type of management and what you do to the house, the amount you can make from a short-term rental can vary significantly, which is one of the advantages over a long-term rental where the prices are pretty static. You only have maybe a 10% range. Here, I mean, a 77% range is just tremendous. So now let's break down some of the trends. What did we learn from this year? The first thing I want to talk about is the number of bookings. It's great to make 6 figures, but what did you do to get there? If you're making that much money on one booking, you're an Airbnb stud. But if it's taking you 100 bookings to make that, then you're working very hard, like a dog. So the number of bookings to get there is a very important metric to look at. It took us 54 bookings to make that amount. So that averages out to 28.48 per booking, or about 1 booking per week. And I like that. I like that we're not like super crowded on the calendar, because when a guest leaves, you've got to fix things, you've got to address things. And that gave us time to fix things, tweak things, and not have the next guest suffer through something bad. So that was about 229 nights being booked. 229 nights of people being in that property, which leaves 120 nights of vacancy to do things, fix things, and another advantage of an Airbnb, so that you can stay there yourself and stay there when it's not being booked. That averages out to about $671 per night. The other statistic that I want to point out is the average length of stay. We had an average length of stay of about 4 days. Now that's a little bit skewed, because really 70% of our stays were weekend stays, 2-day, 3-day bookings. We had 2 30-day bookings because during COVID, the governor of Pennsylvania said, hey, no more short-term rentals, you've got to have people stay there 30 days or longer. So we had 2 30-day bookings, which really helped to increase the average amount of days of our stays. We also had 4 one-week stays. Now our goal in 2021 is really to incentivize the weeklies and the monthlies, where you can make more money, have less turnover expenses, because cleanings, as you'll see here in a little bit, are pretty much our biggest expense. If we can discount our weeklies and our monthlies and incentivize those, that will hopefully increase the length of stay and the amount we make per booking. So average length of stays, you can see in the visual that we're going to really shoot for 7 days and 31 days, but most of the stays have been 2 days and 3 days. The next thing I want to talk about is pets. A lot of people ask, should I accept pets in my Airbnb? The definite answer is yes, yes you should. Now we've had about 20% of our bookings with pets, 10 bookings. And if we didn't accept pets, they probably could have been booked by people who did not have pets, true. But by accepting pets, we made an extra almost $3,000 through our pet fees. And that's going to help you cover the expense of converting all your carpet into LVT or hardwood flooring, which makes it easier to accept pets, because a lot of people don't want to accept pets because of the cleaning and the stains on the carpets. Well, I say accept the pets and let them pay for your flooring upgrades. So definitely accept pets. Kids is another metric that we track. About 50% of our bookings had kids. And we love kids, because if you have kids in your guest list, that means they're not doing a house party, which we just had a really bad experience with the house party. Now, I wish we could just have every one of our guests have kids, but then about half of them would not be able to be booked. So about half of our bookings don't have kids, and we just have to screen those really carefully to make sure those aren't house parties. Those are legit adult gatherings, maybe just reunions or that type of thing. But because we have such a big capacity for our homes, we have to be on the guard for that. So we love kids. When we see kids, that's awesome. That means less chance of a house party. Maybe they're more harder on the walls or stuff like that, but at least they're not going to be smoking and drinking and just having a ruckus and making life miserable for us as Airbnb owners. The number of guests, so we can have up to 22 people in the house, but the most amount of people we had, if you can guess this, I've mentioned this before, 16 people. 16 is a magic number. So that was the most common amount of bookings that we had, a guest list of about 16 people. And about half of them were 15 and under for the amount of people that booked. And the other half of our bookings were 16 or over. So I love having a big house. Just another advantage of having a big house is the versatility that you can have as little as 4 people, 6 people. We had 4 people, 6 people, 10 people. So it's very, very versatile, even for a small family or 1 or 2 families, but also if you wanted 3 or 4 families, it's also a great house for that. So I love a big house because it's versatile. And in lean times, when you have to reduce the rate, you can compete against the smaller homes and offer more. All right, so those are the trends that I found through the bookings. So we have a revenue of $153,765, and now we're going to look at our expenses. See if you can guess how much we spend to upkeep this house for a whole year. All of our expenses. All right, no cheating. All right, here it is. $92,362. That is a lot of money. We spent $92,362 on this house just to run it. Let me break that down for you. The biggest expense, you could say one of the biggest categories would be just the annual principal, interest, tax, insurance, and HOA. That comes out to $24,501. And then we have about $35.25 of management fees. Management fees are what we pay to help offload some of the work we do. If we paid a manager to do this full time, we'd be losing a lot of money. But because we manage it ourselves and we pay people to help us, we spent about $35.25 on that. And we only started the management in the middle of the year, so a full year would probably be closer to $5,000 or $6,000. For operating expenses, we have $64,336. Let me break that down for you. Our biggest expense for operating expenses were improvements. That came out to $23,065. Now, these improvements, I don't mind spending that much because the more we spend on that, whether it's floor upgrades or painting, stuff like that, that's going to last us several years. So that number should go down as we're making improvements and upgrades on the house. But $23,065 is quite a bit, but that's all improvements. That's all investing back into the house. So really the number one expense just to run it that you don't really see any long-term benefit, really, if you want to say that, is cleaning, towel rentals, linen rentals, an essentials kit. We provide an essentials kit where they have some starter toilet paper rolls and trash bags and soaps and stuff like that. So we leave that at the house for them as a starter kit. That costs us $22,141 a year. That's a lot of money that we spend. So if we can reduce the amount of bookings and make them longer, hopefully that number should go down. And next, we have utilities. So you can see in the graphic here that utilities, we broke it down: internet, electric, oil. We don't have to pay for sewer because we have septic. We don't have to pay for water because we have wells, so that helps a lot. But still, utilities came out to 13%, or $83.40. And then we have maintenance, which is the handyman stuff that we're just fixing here, little bit of here, a little bit of there, just because as you know, guests are rolling through, there's a lot of wear and tear. So $57.82 is maintenance. And the rest, trash, hot tub cleaning, yard work, snow plowing, which was huge. This is going to be huge this year because we had a huge snowstorm. Pest control, that came out to $33.14, and the rest is miscellaneous, $16.95. So all that came out to $64,336 for a grand total of $92,362. That's the grand total expenses. So let's look at the returns on this house. I bought this home for $377,000, which is a steal 2 years ago because it's probably gone up. I'm trying to refinance this house now, and I'm hoping it can appraise for in the mid to high fours. We spent $74,194 for down payment and closing costs, and put another $71,000 in renovations. The reason why we got the price so low is because they needed some massive work on the septic system. So we spent a lot of money up front. We spent about $145,194. That's the total amount of money that we had to spend to take this investment and to hold this investment, $145,194. So our annual revenue was $153,765. Our annual expenses were $92,362, which means our cash flow before taxes is $61,403. That's including about $5,000 going towards principal pay down. But if you count, well, what did we actually put in our pocket? You take out that $5,000, we're left with $56,284, which is a 39% cash on cash return, which means with 2.5 years of doing this, I should be able to make back the original amount of money that I invested, which is amazing. 39% cash on cash return. Where are you going to find an investment like that? That's about double what my projections were. So what's the takeaway on this video? Well, do you remember my EdBNB Score video? If you haven't seen the EdBNB Score, check out the video here in this link. In that video, I talk about 5 criteria you can use to evaluate an Airbnb. And now we can have a more accurate score now that we have some true numbers. So if you remember, the first criteria was drivability, which I gave Poconos a 5. Demand, we got a 5, being close to the New York metropolitan area and being close to so many people. It's a 5. Dinero, the return, now we know it's a 5. To get a 5, a score of 5, you needed to get 20% or more, and we're at 39%. And then we had fun factor. And then the 5th factor, I asked for your help on a 5th factor. Special thanks to Tatiana, who commented and helped me to come up with a 5th factor. And we are calling that the friendly factor, which means the legality of short-term rentals and the friendliness of local ordinances, which is a very pertinent criteria because depending on where you're at, having a short-term rental could either not be allowed or be very, very well promoted. So for a score of 1, we're calling that very restricted, meaning it's like Washington, D.C. They only allow short-term rentals if it's your primary residence. So you can rent out a room in your own house, for example. That's very restricted. That's like a score of a 1. A score of a 2 would be restricted, which means it's allowable with usage restrictions. Like Fairfax County, where I live in Virginia, they allow Airbnbs, but there's restrictions, like you got to get a permit. You can only rent it out for maybe 60 nights out of the year. It's very restricted. 3, the restrictions are kind of vague. It's like the Wild Wild West. They haven't come up with any rules, and you're just kind of doing it, and hopefully you don't cause a ruckus, and you don't get neighbors complaining and getting the HOA involved. 4 would be some restrictions. It is accepted citywide generally, and some communities just have their own different rules in place. Ordinances are still being developed. And 5 means no restrictions, widely accepted citywide and in most communities. And I think that's kind of like the Orlando Disney area where they have whole communities of Airbnb type rentals. So I'm going to give this Pocono area a score of a 4. This is the only criteria where we don't score perfect, which means the EdBNB score is a total of 24 out of 25, which is amazing. So back to the title of this video, I still firmly believe this is the best Airbnb market in the nation. And comment below if you think so too, or if you're in a market that you think is better. I'd love to do a heads up comparison with another market. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you were blown away with the returns of this Airbnb house, just like I was. This really gives me a lot of motivation to continue to do a great job for my 2 other properties. So I still have to go through a first full year review for those homes, but this is definitely the best performer of the 3, even though it was the cheapest home. So kind of interesting there. So I need to find out what am I doing right here and try to transfer what's great about this house to the other homes. Comment below with your questions. Tell me what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, this is your favorite homeboy signing out.